Senator David Vitter did not speak at any press conferences today. He wasn't heckled or hounded by the press. He went to work in the U.S. Senate and voted yes on an amendment to end ethanol subsidies. It's a rare good vote for him. Good for him. Very rare. Nearly 4 years after Vitter admitted to breaking the law and cheating on his wife by sleeping with prostitutes, he still has a job. Now, one of the reasons is that the D.C. madam's phone records are not at all interesting. They are evidence that Vitter cheated and broke the law, but they are no crotch shots on Twitter. So, what precedent does the Weiner scandal set? Is the message that we get that it's okay to cheat on your wife as long as there are no pictures? And think about that. Is that a defensible principle? Should we go around being like, okay, and he texts and he thinks, okay, breaking the law, who cares? Where's the juicy pictures? Is the new standard that you just can't be a distraction? Is that what it is? But doesn't that just encourage people to dig into all the congressmen's personal lives to find embarrassing material? And then whether they did anything wrong or not, whether they broke the law or not, apparently they have to resign so they can stop being a distraction. Look, I think that's a really bad precedent, and God knows what can happen with it in the future. Let's talk about it now. Let's bring in Bill Press. He's the host of the Bill Press Show on Sirius XM Radio. And also joining me, MSNBC political analyst Pat Buchanan. All right. Bill, let me start with you. I mean, what kind of precedent is this? So, I mean, like, let's say we have funny pictures of nothing wrong whatsoever. Let's say he sent it to his wife. Do we all still get to giggle and go, okay, that's it, he's got to resign, he's a distraction?
Now, listen, I don't think it's clear at all. First of all, I think there are two standards maybe that we see here. The first is you're right. If there are pics, you're out. If there are no pics, you're in. Look, there were no pictures of Larry Craig, none of Mark Sanford, none of John Ensign, none of David Vitter. The other three wait in their own time, but they're allowed to finish their term. Ensign just resigned to avoid the Senate ethics investigation. And David Vitter, of course, is still on the job. The other standard is if you're a Democrat, the Democrats are the first, too quickly, in my opinion, too eager to throw their own under the bus. Republicans will stand by their people and, of course, insist that the Democrats got to go. And that's the hypocrisy we saw with Reince Priebus, starting with him, the Republican national chair, the first to call for Weiner to resign and refuse to even comment on David Vitter.
Well, Pat, I want to hit both things that Bill just mentioned because they're both important. So, for example, if we had a picture of Larry Craig in that bathroom in Minnesota doing, goofy things, or Vitter, I mean, some of the charges I won't even repeat on air. If we had pictures of that, of Vitter, I mean, they'd be gone, right?
I think so. And if you had pictures of Bill Clinton in the Oval Office, I don't think 50 Democratic senators would have voted to sustain him in office, and almost all the Democratic members of the House. That's correct. But the key point here, Cenk, is you guys threw him under the bus. You threw him under the bus because he was expendable.
Yeah.
He was expendable. And because you were opportunistic, because it was an embarrassment, because the Republicans going to use it against you. And here is Weiner, who did something bizarre and weird and dead wrong, as Ed Rendell said, but who was fighting for you guys every day on the floor of the House in the face of the Republicans. He's not my guy. He's your guy. And you threw him under the bus.
Pat, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but Pat Buchanan, I love what you just said. I think that's exactly right. So, look, I want to, Bill, I'm going to ask you one second, but Pat, I want to stay with you for a second because, look, I want to ask you, you're a Republican. Would Republicans have done that to their own, or would they have circled the wagons?
Well, Cenk, I spent 18 months defending Richard Nixon, who did do some things wrong, because he'd been like a father to me and a friend to me, and he was my leader, and he had made mistakes. And your guys, they didn't stay with him. You didn't retrieve your wounded. He's your own man. Now, I'm not saying you defend what he did at all. But what I am saying is, why were you guys the ones pouring the water in the face of a drowning man when he was your guy?
Hey, Pat, let me jump in here. And, Cenk, I want to say, I agree with Pat. You won't hear me say that very often as well. But the reason we do it is because too many Democrats are weenies. Look, I'm sorry he resigned, but I understand when you've got the President of the United States, the Democratic leader, Chris Van Hollen, the chair of the Democratic National Party, Steve Israel, head of the DCC, and most of his colleagues tell him to resign. It's hard to resist. And I just want to point out one thing. President Obama suggested and called for, in fact, Anthony Weiner to resign. He never called for David Vitter to resign. He never called for Charlie Rangel to resign. It's the only one of all these people that have gotten in trouble. Why did the President of the United States have to get involved in that?
That's a great point, Bill.
The question is, why did Anthony Weiner resign? And the answer is, he was friendless. Why was he friendless?
And
he was
I'll
forced
tell you
out.
why, because he fought. Because he came out and made people uncomfortable by fighting back
Why
against
was he
Republicans.
friendless in the Democratic Party, Cenk? I understand why Republicans
they don't like that.
No.
Hey, listen,
Pat,
I've seen this 100 times.
Here's-
Hold on. Let me just say, look, I saw it with Howard Dean. I saw it with anybody that challenges the establishment. What happens is Democrats get more uncomfortable than the Republicans. They're like, oh, my God, he's actually challenging everybody. We were just having so much fun agreeing with the Republicans.
But you know,
so
Cenk,
when
you
they
are
come
the
out
party.
strong,
Hey, Cenk,
Republicans hit him, and then the
You
Democrats
are the
back them
party,
up.
Cenk, that argues that, you know, voluntary sexual relations between consenting adults
there we go.
don't have any moral content whatsoever, and they're nobody's business. And this guy didn't consummate anything. He sent in some junk over the emails, and you got a hold of him, and then you drowned him. Because
By the way,
Jake,
just for the go ahead.
So
I just want to say, for the record, I have to agree with Pat again that voluntary sexual relations between consenting adults is okay. I mean, I don't think that's
agree
too
with
radical.
that, but that's you guys' morality.
Look, and I agree. That is my morality. So, Pat, you've characterized it accurately. I think that's exactly right.
Well,
and
look,
that's why I felt like I was the only
Cenk,
guy on TV saying, what are we doing here? This is crazy.
Cenk, let me tell you
Bill,
this.
when you look at this, when we look at this a year from now, are we going to go, what the hell did we do to this guy? So he did something in his private life? Why did we care so much? Why did we force him to resign?
Yeah. Hey, Pat, that was to me. Let me tell you something. Pat, that was to me.
No,
One second,
that was the
Pat.
bill. That was the bill. I
One
knew you
second,
didn't
Pat.
do it, Pat. It's a rare thing you're not guilty of.
Well, let me just say this. I'm a Republican
Pat,
and a
hold on a
conservative.
second.
Hold on. Let Bill go.
Pat, hold on a second. Okay, look. Jake, a year from now, we won't even be talking about Anthony. We'll wonder, you know what? We will miss him. We will miss him in the fights on the floor. We will miss him in the fights around the country because nobody fought like he did. And let me tell you, in 2012, here's where the Democrats made a mistake. They thought this was going to be a big distraction in 2012. In 2012, people aren't going to be thinking about Weiner's Weiner. They're going to be talking about jobs and the economy and maybe Libya, I hope, and Afghanistan. And this is going to be behind us, and we will have lost a good man.
But you know, that's
question for you.
What Bill said is correct here. Look, this was, I mean, they use the term distraction. It was a distraction for 8 or 10 days. I haven't been reading about Weiner for the last week. Nobody has. It's all gone, basically, until you guys kept pushing him and put the president himself grabbed the rug and pulled it and said, get out of here. And that's why he's gone.
So, yeah, I know. That's why I was going to ask you the last question. As you guys see this, and, you know, initially it was, you know, conservatives who broke the story, and then they sit back and let the Democrats, you know, go after each other. Do you sit back and kind of snicker, go, Democrats, you know, they won't help each other at all. They do our job for us.
Well, you know, what I would say is, I told you, look, I'm a conservative Republican and I'm a traditionalist, and what I think Weiner did was immoral and wrong. Now, you folks don't. But I do think this.
Pat,
no,
we think it is wrong.
Pat,
you can't go there. We all said it was wrong,
I would not have thrown him out. I would have let it go to the House Ethics Committee. And you guys couldn't take the heat. That's why he's gone.
All right.
Some of us are willing to take the heat.
As we go here, I've got to clarify. What he did in his personal life was morally wrong. Everybody agrees to that, right?
Yes.
The question is, does that affect his congressional life and his political life? And that's where I think we all agree that it shouldn't.
And it did not, and he did not break the law.
Absolutely right. Bill Press and Pat Buchanan, fun as always. Thank you, guys.
Okay.